You're on live
Okay,
chat.
okay, we're good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good
my
morning.
darling. How you doing this
Oh,
week?
doing well, doing well. It's kind of cold, but it's good.
Yeah, it was a little chilly. I don't know how cold it was outside, but it was like 49 inside the house, so that's pretty chilly. We're going to be going
We're-
over
That's
for,
because we're getting ready to move to Alaska.
yeah,
We're going to live off the grid. Only kidding, only kidding.
we had our usual accountability call, and a couple of people joined us that hadn't been with us before. That was back on January 7th, and that was a lot of fun. It's always nice when new people jump in and share their stories. I believe the one person, Stephen, joined us, and I think Mark said he's a firefighter, but I'm not. Well, you never know if that's a good source of information or not.
Uh,
But we'll go with that for now.
the meeting sounded like you guys had a lot of good information that was being shared.
Yeah. So in the beginning, Mark Simon joined us again. He's the lender from Nexa Mortgage that we're actually trying to work with, and he was talking about some new programs. There's actually uh, some more talk of the 40-year mortgage, and that's interesting. It has in the beginning it's 10 years interest only, or it can be interest only if that's the way you want to work it. You can also pay principal if you want. I think the idea there is maybe you can get lower payments for a while. I wouldn't buy a deal because of that, because then I don't think you're being as conservative as you should be. At least that's my opinion, but I
What do you
think it
mean?
could be
You don't,
appealing.
wait, can you go back for a second? What do you mean you don't think you are being as, what do you mean by that?
As conservative.
Yeah.
Um, well, because so just say when we analyze deals, like we normally analyze deals,
Uh-huh.
and we come up with a certain cash on cash return.
Uh-huh.
If it doesn't work the way we analyze it, but it would work with a 40-year mortgage because the payment would be a little bit lower, I think you're jumping in the wrong way. I think the 40-year mortgage should be an added benefit. Just say, for example, your deal is going to cash flow $300 a month with a 30-year conventional mortgage. But, and then if you decided to go with a 40-year mortgage, maybe you cash flow $350. I think that's the way I would look at it. That's the way I might consider going with a 40-year.
But why does that matter? I mean, because it's not like your loan's going to be called in if it's a 40, it would be the same as if it was a 30, you just have more time, right? So if you got a loan with a 40 at 4%, that's 4% for 40 years. It's that loan's not that I don't know if that loan has a bigger chance of getting recalled or whatever than a 30 would.
Um,
I
so what I'm saying is, say, for example, you want $300 cash flow on every deal you do, right?
Yeah,
And you analyze a deal. And if you got a conventional 30-year mortgage, it wouldn't cash flow, say it only cash flowed $200.
right.
And if you analyze it with a 40-year mortgage, it would cash flow 300 a month.
Yeah,
But as we've experienced on our properties, a lot of things can go wrong, right? So I think you're still
right.
kind of skinny because that's interest only also. So you're not paying down any principal in
The
the first 10
40,
years on the
oh, and
40.
oh, see, I didn't know that. Okay, so now that makes sense. That makes sense
So
then.
so you don't have to leave it interest only. You got That's the basic requirement. You got interest only of whatever payment per month, and you can always add principal like like most mortgages do.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I mean. I think that's kind of in that same wheelhouse as, trying to squeeze a deal in that shouldn't really be squeezed in.
Right,
When you really shouldn't do. And like I said, that's for us. That's just as conservative as we like to be. Some people are, don't mind taking a little bit more risk, and it could work. But like you said, it is fixed. It's not going to change. And but at the end of 10 years, you paid your interest, and then you start making the normal payments, and you haven't paid any principal down.
right. Yeah, that makes the difference right there. I think that you haven't paid any interest down. That's I mean, yeah,
Any
that all you're
principal, yeah.
paying principal, I'm sorry. Yeah, all you're paying is interest. That's the catch right there. And I wonder how many people stop to think about that when they see that 40, because me not knowing, I saw that 40, I thought, whoa, okay, 10 more years on that mortgage, I'm good with it, especially if you get it at a good interest rate. But yeah, it's almost falls in the category for me as with the balloon payments, because it has that 10 years that you get nothing. Then why would you, why?
Yeah.
Because at the 11th year you're not going to, there's no benefit. Now all of a sudden you're going to start paying interest, but it's not going to be, you've lost 10 years, and it's not going to be that much that you're going to be putting in that pot till you've probably paid at least 20, 25 years into the loan. So yeah, yeah.
So the other part about that is the interest rates. I don't know if they would be lower. They could actually be a little bit higher, but because they're stretching it out over 40 years, your payment could still come out lower, if that makes sense.
Hmm. So then I guess, so then maybe, so if the, so my, yes, the payment would probably be lower, obviously, because it's 40 years instead of 30 years. So if that's it, then I wonder, um, if, but you can refinance, right? So
Mhm.
let's say, and I know this is making the numbers work for you instead of looking to see which numbers work. So somebody, I think maybe a new investor would get and say, oh my gosh, look at, I can get a 40-year. I'm going to hold it forever. So I don't care about appreciation. So therefore, if I have lower payments, I can get into this. I could buy this to invest and then refinance in, I don't know, 5 years or 3 years or whatever. So
Yeah.
do you think having that 40-year loan is gonna going to hurt the investor from refinancing? Do you think the banks will look at it and say, yeah, we're not doing this, it's a 40-year, what are you, nuts?
No, I don't think there will be any issues there because um, a lot of banks want the new business, right? So they're going to go ahead and refinance you just like normal. I don't think that's going to be an
Well,
issue.
then that might, I mean, that's going to be enticing for some people because they're going to see a lower payment, so they're cash flowing more. They can refinance. They have a good interest rate. They're going to refinance in, I don't know, 5 years. They think in 5 years I can refinance because I have, enough, and they're young enough, and so it really doesn't matter. I can see where it's going to be enticing for some people.
Yeah, but you, I guess this could be a point to look at as well. So say you get a 40-year mortgage
Uh-huh,
and you're into it for 5 years or whatever, and
uh-huh,
haven't had any principal pay down. When you
uh-huh.
go to refinance, if the value of the property hasn't come up enough,
Oh, yeah.
then maybe the loan to value ratio wouldn't be high enough to refinance?
Right, right. That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
or what if
Yeah.
property values drop? Because if you get into it and say you have a 75% loan to value when you buy it,
Uh-huh.
you would ideally you would still have at least that. Hopefully you have a
Right.
little bit more because of appreciation, but if the tables turned and the property value dropped, then you
Uh-huh.
couldn't refinance without putting money into the deal
Right.
to make it even again. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's something to look at. And so, yeah, I think there's gonna be quite a few, probably like first time home buyers are probably gonna jump at this one.
Mhm.
I would think because it's easier to get in. It's 40 years instead of 30. You're gonna stay there, you're gonna fix it up.
But
Yeah, I think it's probably gonna be more appealing for first time home buyers.
yeah, what it wouldn't work for you for your first primary because this would be just for investment
Oh, this
properties.
is just investments?
Yeah,
Oh, see, that
because
would
it's
stink.
DSCR and
Oh,
um,
okay.
I don't believe you can live in a property if you
You
get a
can't.
DSCR loan.
Oh, I think you can't. And somewhere back in the cobwebs of my brain, I believe you can't live in it with the DSCR loan.
Maybe if you're house hacking.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. But we're not doing it, so we're good.
okay. Okay.
That's in the line with those yeah, that's in the line with the others. Not doing it, sorry.
Yeah, some of the other folks that jumped in with us that night, Tom Taylor joined us, and he's not in school yet, as far as I know, but he found us through one of our lives, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Um, and he is in Missoula, Montana, and he is looking to move his market a little bit. I think he said he was hoping to get it a little bit closer to him, but the market there is more expensive. So it means, at least what he said that night was, it means saving up more for a down payment. It doesn't sound like he's doing any creative financing or anything yet. And he has a couple of properties, but I don't know how long he's been doing it either. Um, we had Stephen join us, and he's in New York, and actually he picked up a couple of the one rental at a time T-shirts. So we just mailed those out yesterday, and uh, I think I'm not sure if he's coming to Vegas, but he's trying. I think he mentioned, if I'm remembering right, he mentioned something about his son, and they were trying to figure out
Oh, that's right.
childcare or something. But everybody in the group mentioned to him that he could bring the his son and have a free ticket because Super is still giving away a free ticket to match what the parent buys
Uh-huh.
for the event. And he still had a few left. Um, and then one of the folks that has been on off and on with us over the last few weeks, Sean Halverson, he picked up a property in Arizona and he's planning on doing rent by the room. He said he already has what he thinks is a great tenant, and that tenant has a friend, so he thinks he's got a couple of rooms rented already. But he was asking people um, about suggestions for tenant screening, and a couple of the folks on the call mentioned Hemlane and Turbo Tenant. So hopefully he got some enough information to get started doing his own screenings, or doing better screenings, I should say. Let's see. We talked a little bit about our place, the triplex, and the fact that one of our tenants asked to get out of their lease a month early. And there was some mixed thoughts about that one because I agreed to let them out of their lease a month early. And a lot of people thought, we should make them pay their last month of the lease before we agreed to that.
Hmm.
Um, and my thinking was, this tenant's been a bit of a problem.
Right.
They've always managed to pay their rent, but they've asked for things that we don't get asked many things from any of our other tenants, but these specifically had asked for things along the way because they were inconvenienced for because we had to do a repair or something like that. And we did actually put those tenants up in a motel about a year ago because there was a
And
plumbing issue.
and when they also um volunteered the last time when the something was getting fixed, they volunteered to use the upstairs apartment that was empty. What was it? Was it the
Well, we
kitchen?
offered to allow them to use the bathroom upstairs
And they,
because,
yeah, and they were willing to do that. So it's not like, yeah, yeah,
yeah, well,
we're
they
glad with
didn't.
them.
And then too, they during the remodel of their bathroom, they got a little bit upset about how long it was taking, so they called the city, and that just
Yeah,
made the process even longer. So I'm glad to see them leave, and I'm okay with,
me
not
too.
not going after that month's rent. There are a few other
And
people who felt the same.
And it's good because not only that, get them out. Let's get it ready for the next, and then it'll be hopefully hitting the market right when it's starting to, the weather's going to be better. Gives us a little more time for it to be on the market if it's going to be. Yeah, I think it was a good move.
Yeah, and I was hoping to. So I need to get a hold of our property manager this week and just ask them. I'm sure they'll do a move out inspection, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the unit is in decent shape. It's still going to need some things to get it turned for the new tenant, but I don't think there's going to be any major damage or anything like that we have to deal with.
And
So
he's one of our best, I think our best um PM. So I'm sure he's gonna take pictures to document anything just in case, because to me, they're the people who if because they'll be charged that the cleaning of everything, right? Because that's part of their deposit. They leave it
yeah,
garbage
yeah,
and all that.
and
So yeah,
if there's any issues caused by the tenant, they'll usually cover it by the amount held back for those kinds of things.
right,
Someone had asked if we couldn't, say they have $1,000 deposit and they use a few hundred of it for tenant issues. Could we keep the leftover for going towards their last month's rent? But that's not the way that works.
right.
That's supposed to be kept
Because
separate.
Yeah, and plus we had already said that they could get out of their lease. If at that point we would have said that we'll keep some of their deposit, then, but I think that would have just opened the doors to having more problems.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, let's see what else we talked about. Chris was on the call with us. Chris, he's in Pennsylvania. He actually mentioned that he might retire this year, which was really cool
Wow.
news. He's had a lot of ups and downs, at least from what he shared with us in the group. He's the one who just bought the franchise for the doggy daycare.
Yeah,
And so that would be awesome if he could retire. I love hearing that.
I love hearing the fact that they have doggy daycares.
Yeah, and Josh and his wife have been in that business for a long time. So
Yep.
I know they've had a couple of calls. Mitesh was with us, and he was asking about if anybody had used their warranty after buying a new appliance. He has a washing machine that he bought not too long ago that burnt up, and
Hmm.
nobody in the group had really had any experience with that. A couple of suggestions were made, like I think he said he bought his from Lowe's.
Hmm.
Some people really like Costco because they'll take anything back. So hopefully he'll find a resolution for that.
So I wonder what the odds are of needing that warranty when you buy something new, because let's be honest, it's supposed to be perfect or close to perfect. But we all know with manufacturing and what have you, how things can slip by. But I don't know. I've always heard not to take the warranties because it's just a waste.
Mhm.
I think if it was those places where they have the used or the slightly damaged, I would probably, if they offered warranties, I'd probably do that. But I think they usually already automatically give you like a 30 day or something.
Yeah, the ones that we've purchased a refrigerator and a stove through one of those kind of stores. It's local in St. Louis to our properties.
Uh-huh.
And they give you, one gave you 30 days and one gave you 60 days. So you do take a little bit of a risk. I've heard some people, I don't know if it was Jason, but um, thinking they'd rather buy new if it's, because I think for the refrigerator we paid 250 and a new refrigerator would have been about 600. So you kind of weigh that as well. And
Yeah.
but I mean, you can
Yeah,
get bad stuff even if it's new.
true. And I think it, yeah, true. I don't know. I think also it depends on where you are, what your situation, what your financial situation is. If you can afford that new, then by all means go for it. But if things are just a little tight, you need to get it in, knowing that you're taking a chance, a bigger chance with a used. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and I guess there's always the thought about, if the tenant leaves and takes your appliances with them, there's always that. But
How often do you think that happens?
well, I know it happened to my mom a couple of times when she had her property here in Sacramento.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, she had to supply a range, and twice it was taken.
Wow.
Yeah,
So I put a camping stove in there. Here, take that.
yeah, it's kind of funny when we had the property that we sold in Illinois. It to qualify for Section 8, it needed like a cooking source, but it
Hmm.
didn't have to be a stove. It could be a it could be a microwave. So
Oh,
we were supplying a microwave before we sold it. We were going to supply a microwave, and then they bring their own stove or whatever. But um,
huh.
you know, that's why it's important to know your local area, know the rules and regulations, and a lot of us don't really dig into that when we're buying a property. Um, Hopefully we start to do it after the fact because and I'm sure a lot of people do because things come up, right? And you're like, oh, I didn't realize that or I didn't realize this. And but moving forward, hopefully that's one thing we were talking about, creating SOPs or standard operating procedures for things like that. Uh, so that you don't forget those important little
Yeah.
things that come up. We were, for us this past week, we got a check from one of our mortgage companies, and it was the escrow money because I guess when you have an option with your lender to have the taxes and insurance escrowed into your payment, which we do.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's a next step where you can check a box whether you want them to pay the taxes or you want to pay the taxes. And I had called them last year because they did the same thing. They sent us the check, and so we need to pay the taxes. But I called them and I told them I just want them to pay the taxes. I don't want to deal with it. We don't deal with it with any of our other mortgage companies. So they said they would do it this year, and they still didn't do it. So
I know. I was so excited. I saw that check. I said, oh.
yeah, we
Yeah.
overpaid by $6,000. I don't think so.
Hey, it was a fun thought there for a minute. I already had that money spent. Okay, what do we need to fix? What needs to happen?
Yeah, that would have been nice. I think that would.
So, okay, so like that is just like really dumb. So, oh, maybe I guess it works for people who forget about taxes or can't save for taxes or whatever, because why would we tell them to hold it? Okay, now send us a check and we'll pay it. Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I don't think I've never thought that I wanted to save the money on our own and pay the taxes when they're due because it just always ends up that we didn't have the money, right? For some reason. So it's safer for me to have everything rolled up into their payment and then they just deal
Yeah,
with
I
it.
like that too. I think it's something about buying some tool that you needed. That always pops up for some reason when there's a little bit of money.
Yeah, we love tools. One of the things that I had thought about during the meeting when people were sharing with Sean about how they screen their tenants,
Mhm.
and I was kind of bewildered after hearing everybody's suggestions because I was thinking they had all these great suggestions, but I still felt lost. Like if I were Sean, I would have thought, okay, like so they use Turbo Tenant and they use Hemlane, but how do you get started doing it? And I had mentioned
Right.
in the meeting that I had a call with someone a couple of weeks ago, and that person was very new, and they were wondering if there was any place out there that you could get hand holding to get
Mm.
started, right? And and so I've been thinking about that, and I'm going to try to start doing some videos just about that. Like, people talk about these things and you hear them online. Well, you just go to your lender and you ask for this or that, or you shop lenders. But to somebody that's brand new, that just sounds like another language. So
Right.
I know we have a few people with us this morning, but I wonder if they might have any suggestions on what they think the very first step should be, because I think, they're going to, maybe some people will say picking a market or um, getting your money right, learn how to analyze a deal, things like that. So those are, I mean, they're obvious to us now, but I want to break it down and get really into each step. And hopefully that will help because that's why well, that was the transition for our channel, right? Because in the beginning, we were just documenting our journey, hoping it would help someone. But I think we need to go back a little bit more. And like Dion says, make it so a 5-year-old can understand it.
Well, that's what I was saying at the very beginning when you started you started the journey for real estate, and they were throwing out all these acronyms and all these different things, and it's like, okay, this is really dumb because I totally don't get it and I'm wasting time. And that was one thing that I kept asking people, and I couldn't do it because I was the one that needed it. So it was and everybody's, going to think that the first step is different. Everybody's going to think differently. But it was like, you guys are talking about all this stuff. I don't even know what the first thing you said meant, and I'm lost. And I don't think anyone's ever done that, put anything together that gives you some just basic information. And I'm sad to say, even when you go listen to some of these podcasts, some of these people, whether it's whomever, the language, if you don't know it, is still foreign. Even when we think that it's enough for a 5-year old to understand, even then it's too much because it needs to be broken down to regular people language. Because when you guys are all talking, it can get to be a little foreign language for me sometimes. And then I just stop listening because if it doesn't make sense, then forget it. Why do I care? So I think it's even more basic. And even when we first started and I went back and I watched Zuber, I watched Dion, I watched Lumberjack. I watched them, even their first ones. It was still too much because when I was learning how to run the numbers with you and me, I need to see it on paper. I need to do it on paper so I can see where things are going. And I had arrows going everywhere. I mean, if you think back, some of the things that I was asking you was very basic stuff that everybody else just assumes that we know if we're doing real estate, but you don't. Yeah, so I hope somebody, whether it's you or somebody else, it does some, and it would be nice if people did it on their own, this is what I do. This is what I thought was important first, you know, because it's different for everybody. If your finances are good, then you skip the doing your credit report, But even basic stuff like credit reports. I mean, think about it. The younger people who are starting, some of them have no clue about a credit report. So,
Yeah, I think that was, well, even for us in the beginning, we thought we were ready. We had a down payment, we had good credit, but then our debt to income ratio came up, and that was with one lender. And a lot of people would stop there, right? But
yeah,
somehow somebody we were dealing with at the time said, well, let's try this other lender. And that other lender approved us right away. So
right.
those kinds of things, might stop a beginner in their tracks.
And that's why it's so good to be able to have lenders on your channel, but not only that, to be able to to refer good people to everyone, and say, this is who we've used. They might not seem interested, or you might not hear from them every day, but they're on it. This is what our experience is. Yours might be different, but and to do some good recommendations of people who are out there who are really willing to spend the time and educate. I don't I don't know. I think there's more, whether it's real estate agents or whatever, are less willing to educate people. They just want to get the job done. So when we find these people who are willing to educate and help and walk you along, those are the people we need to hold on to and to refer to, and help them to do well in their business also.
Yeah, a couple of things that you said there. So, having a lender on with us or whoever it might be who specializes in a certain aspect of investing, not that we're saying you need to work with that person, but just
Uh-uh.
talking with them and discussing the different topics will help
Right.
someone understand. Because in the beginning, too, we thought, you go to a bank and get a loan, but now we know you would most likely start with a mortgage broker because they have
Right.
way more options than a bank. But I forget
Yeah,
who I was talking to.
we didn't even know what a stinking mortgage broker was. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a difference in the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't either. I
But
figured it
yeah,
was all had to do with their license and how much they're willing to pay to learn their job. Yeah,
yeah, but there's I know my mom had a really good mortgage broker back in the day, but I didn't understand the difference. I didn't know there was a difference. And
right.
there's so many different intricacies about this business. And you mentioned the acronyms. I'm putting together a list of acronyms um, that, you know, because we've been talking about digital products and kind of testing out that side hustle. And that's probably one of the first freebies that we would be giving out, would be that list of acronyms. And then I hope it invites people to contact us and want to dig deeper, right?
Yeah.
If Because there's basic definitions for each thing, but you can always go deeper on each thing as well. So I would hope that people want to do that and have conversations. Um, the other part of that is, and something that's come up in the group as well, there are several people who, you know, check in with multiple lenders and play that game, getting estimates from each and comparing them to others to see what the best terms might be for their situation. Um, to me, I mean, if we had two lenders and they were, say, 0.25% different, one was lower than the other, I don't think that would make my final decision. I think there are other things to consider, like, how, like you said, are they educating us in the process or just selling us the loan? That kind of thing makes a difference. So I don't think it's always best to go with the cheaper person.
Right, right. There's that relation part again.
Mm-hmm. But then you do have to be careful because say you're working with a lender and you've done 2 or 3 loans with them and you just assume that you're getting the best deal with them, you should still check out
Absolutely.
there and see if there's anything that has changed or that could suit you better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're not saying just, we're saying that you still have to be wise about what you're doing. And one of the ways to be wise is to know who you're working with. What value are you getting from it? And I mean, besides just a good deal, what else are you getting? There's so much more there if we just take the time and figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of this community that we're in because, and I don't think a lot of people are using it to the max.
Yeah.
I know we know a lot of people that are not in school, but there are several people in school, and if they have a question, I don't know if they're just shy or what, but they're not asking questions in the group when there's so many knowledgeable people in there that can help them. I reached out to some of our friends this week because we've talked about our situation with you retiring this year and our finances are changing. It's been a challenge to get in shape to refinance some of our properties that we want to refinance if the rates drop low enough. So Mark was talking about one of the challenges I think has been that our properties are in the lower price points. So a lot of lenders won't do that per property, but he suggested maybe doing a portfolio loan and a DSCR at that. So with the DSCR, as long as the properties are paying for themselves, basically have a good uh, debt service coverage ratio, that you could do that. But another point he brought up was that if you do a portfolio loan, there might be issues if you wanted or needed to sell one property because they would all be grouped together in that loan.
Right.
So I have to go deeper now and figure out what if that happens? What if you need to sell one? Does that mean you would have to refinance the remaining 3 and just separate that one? Um, so, but you know, I lean on them constantly because I still consider myself a new investor, but hopefully the rest of the people in the group will catch on and not be afraid to ask. We always let people know they can always email us or want to set up a call or whatever it is. If they need help, we're willing to help however we can, and also we're not the most knowledgeable, you and I, but we know a lot of people who are very knowledgeable, so and have done a lot of great things. um, I see your favorite fan is back.
Mikey?
Uh, so yeah, so that was there was a lot of good takeaways from that meeting and good conversations. We we've been trying to hold things to about an hour and a half, and it's been working out pretty well. except for some of the troublemakers in the group trying to extend the time. But I was thinking maybe we'll get to a couple of questions that we came up with this week and see if we can get any feedback from whoever's here with us. One of the
Excuse me, really quick. Flavio asked, why are you not turning on the super chat? Because he wanted to do a super chat. I think he said something like $5,000.
oh,
That's a
okay,
double super chat.
I'll get that working right away. I think I think you have to reach a certain level on YouTube before you can turn that on. But we
I think so
appreciate the
too.
thought. Thank you. And we wouldn't want you to spend any of your money here. You need it on your properties. So make sure those things are set. Um, no other questions.
Nope. Everybody's pretty quiet today. I think they're anticipating the games coming on.
Yeah, but those are still a couple of hours away, a few hours
Yeah.
away. Did you say one starts at 1:30?
I think so.
1:30 and 5 something.
Yeah, 1:30 and 5:30.
Yeah. So the big one today is the Bears and the Packers. So I think
I'm have I'm
Mark's
gonna have to
sweating
go
it.
for those. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go for those Bears.
Good thing Cody's not here. He would have something else to say about
I
that.
know, I know. I had to look real quick to see if he was here. I don't know. That's gonna be a good game. That's gonna be a good game. I need to watch that one.
It should be good, but the Bears are surprisingly strong this year. I'm
And
happy for them. It's been a long time.
out of, I mean, they didn't start off as strong, so I didn't really even consider them. And then as I watched and I listened, and
Yeah.
they just seemed to like all of a sudden take off. And I was like, okay, okay, boys, this is your year. Come on now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the last time the Bears were had a good season like this was back when they had the fridge
Yeah.
because yeah, they won that Super Bowl, I believe, when he actually carried the ball in for a touchdown. And I forget who was their quarterback, the one that wore the white headband all the time.
Oh, um, what's his name?
I forget. Mark should know. Well, Mark's not that old. He probably didn't see that game.
I don't remember, but yeah, absolutely. Who was that? See, now you're gonna make me think hard.
Well, Mark's there. He's making black t-shirt comments. He should know who the quarterback was
I think
back
Mark
then.
said he wanted to be the one in charge of making these t-shirts. I thought somewhere I heard that.
Yeah. So if anybody wants black or at t-shirts, just get a hold of Mark, the financial firefighter. He lives in Hawaii.
Flavio says he's working with Convoy for his DSCR. And who are you thinking to do your DSCR? We're gonna do a DSCR? Thank you, Flavio. I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just talking about it.
Man, that was McMahon. Thank you,
Oh,
Oscar.
okay. Hey,
What?
Oscar, thanks. Um, yeah, well, no, we were just talking about the portfolio loan would be a DSCR loan if we, so I guess a couple of the challenges there would be typically DSCR rates are a little higher than conventional. So we
Right.
would need the rates to drop a little bit further so that I would hope we could get in the mid fives, even if we have to buy it down a little bit,
Right.
because the lowest one that we want to refinance is at 6.8, I think.
Mhm.
And I think we would do it if we could get at least a point better than our current rates, because we have some in the sevens, we have one at 7.5, so those are easier to consider. But that 6.8 being the lowest one, I would like to get down there.
Yeah. Um, Bill says Roth IRA, my understanding is you can take out the money you put in. What about using it as an emergency fund? Um, Go ahead, Frank. You know this one.
Let me read that again.
Both Roth IRA, my
Uh,
understanding is you can take out the money you put in, you can. And what about using it as an emergency fund?
yeah, so in our case, we Cynthia had a 403B, for her retirement account, she's been able to take a couple of loans on that money and pay them back over time. When we have used that, one of our lenders used that to qualify us for reserves. But beyond that, we haven't really. So it can be an emergency fund, but I guess it depends how much you have available. And it
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
have to
think,
be much, right? I mean, if you had ten or twenty
right.
thousand dollars available, that could help a lot.
I think one of the things, because I was working with our guy, and so one of the things that he was asking me, who was handling the 403B, was that how quick would we need it? And you're not really you're taking it out to use it, but it's a loan, so you're paying it back. And I think yeah, it wasn't, because there's a lot of crazy paperwork you do, that it took at least, I don't know, I want to say at least a week for all the paperwork and everything to go through so that we could borrow money. But when we were doing our loans, I believe it was like, we used that as to show that we did have reserves. And the 403B gentleman's, he had to send some kind of document that showed it was in there and that how soon we could get it out, that it was available. So,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
I think most of the time, at least for us, we know we have business credit cards that don't have balances. So you could use those while you're getting access to the other money, which is what we
Right.
would probably do if we could. Um,
Flavio says he got a quote of 70% LTV, 6.3.
okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
It, I would like it a little bit lower, but I think
I
I'll
would love
check
it.
with Convoy, Flavio. I think the last time I asked him about this, um, for some reason, even though it was a portfolio, uh, a portfolio DSCR, we didn't qualify for some reason, and it just seems like with them, there's always something that comes up that disqualifies us. But I, we have a couple of other lenders that we're going to check with. I know Jason sent us the number for his guy, and he's had good success with him. I think he's worked with him on all three of his purchases so far, and he's happy with them. And Jason does his homework, so I think we can count on everything that he's brought to us.
So
Yinka has a comment in there. My rehab.
cost is getting out of budget due to new things popping up, I would imagine that's what it is. And it says, how do you manage that? Oh, yeah, been there.
Yeah, I think we have been there, Yinka. And you'll see in some of my comments in school just talking about us just having to hang on for dear life because maybe you haven't been around to hear our story, but I think 2024 was really hard on us. We had $100,000 in reserves, and I think I made the mistake of buying a property at that time. It was $35,000 of that money. So it left us about 65,000, and we burned through that 65,000. And it wasn't just on one rehab or anything. It was across our whole portfolio because some major repairs came up. We had vacancies. We had all the stuff go wrong that could go wrong. I'm sure more could have gone wrong, but thankfully it didn't. Um, so those were some really sleepless nights. And I think the best thing that you could do for yourself would be not to, or just know that other things are going to come up no matter how good you plan, and just to have even more reserves than you think you're going to need. um, what kinds of things are popping up, if you don't mind me asking. We'll wait for him to answer. But yeah, so we had a couple of mini splits we had to put in the triplex. Those were what, $6,000 or $7,000 a piece. There was, like I said, we had vacancies. We had a couple of turnovers on the duplex in Milwaukee, and those were about 6,000 each, because we had to do carpet and then recently with the recent floods in Milwaukee, we had to replace two furnaces there also, and those were 5 or 6 thousand each. So
Mhm.
um, I think the best thing we can do is have plenty of reserves, even way more than you think you're going to need. Get through the project, get it stabilized, and start refilling that bucket. Um,
Mhm.
what do you think about that? Because all of the things that we went through, I think um, we had
I
put a lot
think,
of.
yeah, we put a lot of money out there. I think again, I go back to that buying, you find a property high that people get on who are in real estate, that really messes people up. You have to really rein that in and not just because it's like money burns through your pocket. It's like it's sitting there and you're like, okay, I got this money, I need it to work for me. So let me buy a property. And it's like, well, wait a minute. So I think that's a big one that I think hurts people and puts people, well, put us, we both did that. It puts us in that position of, okay, now what? Because now we don't have that money and that property needs stuff. So I think that, yeah, just managing what you have, letting it stabilize before you move on. I think that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, so I guess a lot of people, that was one of the questions that popped up. But since we're talking about it, a lot of people might not talk about such a big loss. Well, I would consider it a loss, all the money we put out, because you don't, when you're analyzing your properties, you don't think that stuff can happen. So now, the cash on cash return for those properties is like nothing, even though we do have positive cash flow. But since we spend so much getting them in shape, a lot of people might think that was pretty stupid because you could have put the money somewhere else and made it safer and gotten a decent return on it. But I just was thinking we spent more than $65,000 because we put stuff on the credit cards. And
Right.
since it might have been a blessing in disguise having to sell the Illinois property because that paid off a lot of that debt. And that was bad debt being on credit cards and with their interest rates.
Mhm.
Um, what else did he say?
Bathroom vents that don't vent outside, only inside drywall, and we have balloons framing, so we
Uh,
need blocking per my code offers. I don't know what that is.
yeah, there's the a lot of times if he's talking about fire blocking, if you know
Oh,
how the walls look inside the 2x4s,
yeah,
every 16 on center, but every
right,
every few feet there's supposed to be a block that goes across the two. That way, if
right,
fire gets up in there, the block stops it or slows it.
right. Mhm.
Um, when you say the bathroom vents don't go outside, do you mean the fan vent or the plumbing vent? So I think he might be talking about the plumbing vents, and those are all the little pipes that you see sticking out of your roof.
Right.
Those are usually, many of them are tied to your plumbing, and they allow the fresh air intake so that everything drains properly. Um, if they're inside walls, I know some contractors will use what they call a Studer vent, which it's a one-way valve, and when you're using the water, it sucks air and it lets air come through. But some people put those inside walls because they don't want to go through the roof. Um,
Materials went over, but not labor. Yes, fire blocking, the fan vents. Yeah, I could see where materials would go over. Everything's so stinking expensive right now with materials.
yeah, it seemed like materials should have been one of the things that um, you have a pretty good grasp on, right? Because unless something crazy like COVID happened, and materials shot up overnight, but usually, like if I do a bid for a bathroom and I have all the materials included, that material shouldn't change unless you change the type of material, maybe the tile you're using or a waterproofing system that you're using changes. But it's good that the labor didn't change. Um,
Yeah.
and the bath vent fans, we've run across that a few times, and sometimes what we've been able to do is, so I'm not sure if it's okay because he's in Pennsylvania too, I believe. Um, he actually took me on a tour of his property, which looked very nice. But one of the inspectors here in California had let us vent our bath vent fans to the existing roof vents. So you see those all the time too on roofs where they have a little vent cover, and that's for the air in the attic to circulate. And sometimes we can we can direct the bath vent right to that roof vent, and you get that mounted and put in place. And usually when we did it, we had to have like that little dryer vent with a door flapper so that
Oh, yeah.
air can't come back down, but when you need it, air goes up and it goes right out the vent of the roof. I'm not sure if they would let that, if that's okay in his state, but it was okay here in one city that we worked in. Oh, Chris, yeah, Chris made it to Idaho. He moved to Idaho. Where
For
did
an
he move
awesome
from? Was it
job.
Virginia? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got. Sounds like it's going to be a great job. Um, so yeah, that's big. I wonder, because you do have another property, Inca. How long has it been, or did you have to do these kinds of renovations to that first property? Maybe you could tell us that. Um, but yeah, cost overruns can hit you hard. And like they say, once you open up the walls, you never know if the previous landlord did fixing of his own or hired people that didn't do what they were supposed to do. Um, so, mold, hopefully not mold, but dry rot and termites. Well, I don't know if they have termites there, but termites are a big one here for us in
Why
California.
wouldn't why wouldn't they have termites?
Some places don't have termite issues. I don't recall what states.
Seriously. Huh.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, there are other issues like uh, there's some kind of ant in certain states that's really bad for wood. So they protect
Hmm.
against ants instead of termites. Uh, so let me jump back into one of these other questions while we're waiting. Um, so the first question is, when you look back at this past week, what moment stands out the most and why? Did you get something accomplished this week that you're happy about getting done? Is there something that's you're not doing that you should be doing? I think for me, well, so I think I talked a little bit about it on our last call too, about trying these different side hustles, right? And trying to prove whether they work or not. And the one that I'm on recently, as you know, is trying to sell something on Etsy from start to finish because I've never done that. You did a little bit of book selling in the past, but I think that was through eBay. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I started videos about it as well. So what I decided to start with was just some simple floating shelves. And so I have 3 of them built. They're made out of recycled or leftover material from our jobs. And so I have them made. Now I'm at the point where I'm trying to figure out the shipping, how that all works. How do you estimate shipping? How do you price your item? Is it even going to be something people want? So I think the big thing for me is that I just want to get through the whole process and finish something, because I have all these balls in the air and nothing's getting finished as far as the side hustles go. So I'm hoping to get that done. What did Chris say?
He said, our new place has a few more projects than I'd like. We had some in our last place, renovated bathroom and new floors and kitchen refresh, but here it is completely unknown. The outside structure is good, internally not bad, just dated. The plumbing looks new, unless I go into the walls. Don't do that. Floors are okay, and kitchen is a bit 1980s. We will get things completed as we can. And that's what you do. If you have a place, I mean, that's how we've always done it. You have a place, everything's looking good and it's just dated and things like that. That all comes with time, you know? Took us took us, as I'm looking at Frank, 20 some years to get our kitchen um remodeled, and yeah, everything with time.
Yeah, we did leave our kitchen for the longest time. But even though, I mean, people always think contractors make great money, but we never have made great money. And just to do a simple kitchen like ours, what we ended up doing was we waited, well, not intentionally, but it turned out that we were able to stack on to, because I was remodeling a kitchen for someone, and I was able to stack on extra cabinetry for our kitchen. It didn't cost my customer anything or do anything to that deal, but it helped us get our cabinetry at a better price. And then, because like the guys are saying, everything is just so expensive, even for us, when you think about the cabinets for one, and our kitchen is super small. It's probably only what, 2, 3, 4, 5. We probably only put in 6 or 7 cabinets, and I made a couple of cabinets, and then I made doors because you wanted to keep some of the uppers because they were so well built. So I made new doors for those. Even though I made the stuff, it still ended up costing, several $1,000s. Um, but I was going to say too, for Chris, and I know you were super patient. So it just depends on the spouse, right? If they're patient, and or I think like Jim, the grumpy contractor, had mentioned, like his wife is done with rehabs because they've lived through so many. And, you know, if this is Chris and his wife's second go at this remodeling in place that they're living in, she may be patient enough to accept the timeline. Hopefully that's the case. But, you know, if not, that can add stress too. And two, if I wonder how much of the work Chris get all out. Looks like you have a couple new comments in there.
Sorry, I was answering some. So, Chris was talking about the plumbing looks good. Okay. Then, Alinka says we have German cockroaches and termites. Ew. Okay. Flavio says he does estate sales and resells on Facebook Marketplace. Good things. Chris
Okay.
says on the Etsy thing, we dealt with shipping at the cookie shop. You had a cookie shop. And did flat rate boxes. We froze the cookies out of the oven and they thawed on en route. Wow, that's pretty
Wow.
cool. He's going to be meeting with his dean next week. I'm really excited for that. And Mr. Flavio, I just want you to know that I love estate sales. Frank, not so much. Flavio also said Habitat for Humanity has good stuff that they're reselling as well. And Chris says, I can paint and that's about it.
That's all good information. I think,
Uh,
so I guess Chris won't be doing most of the work. But getting back to Flavio's, well, both Chris and Flavio, I like what you're saying. So Flavio, one challenge that I'm facing. So you said Facebook Marketplace, and I have a lot of tools that I'm going to be selling. I listen to Gary Vee a lot, and he's just like, get off your butt and go do something. So that's what I mean. I have all these things in progress, but nothing's getting finished. So when I started down that path of, I have some old nail guns and things like that that I'm sure would sell fine, but then do you let people come to your home and pick it up? Or um, I was doing so this, maybe it's more for women, but to go meet someone to give them, say I'm taking the nail gun and I'm going to go give it to them and take the money. Is that safe for you to do? So there are some safe places like police parking lots. There are some designated safe places like police parking lots. Because I mean, even for me, somebody could just, pull a gun out and take what I have and go, or take more and go. Um, so that's one concern. Um, I don't mind going to estate sales. I don't like holding yard sales, is I think what Cynthia means, because I don't like to argue with people, but Cynthia loves to argue with
It
people.
is, it's not arguing. If I have a price, that's a price. If the person is going to be kind and they say, well, can I give you less? Okay, yeah, I will. But if they're going to be butt heads, then no, sorry, now my price just went up. And then if somebody else says, what about this? I'll say, what are you willing to pay? And they say, less, I'm going to give it to them. And then the other people are going to get mad. So Flavio
Um,
says you can meet at a local store. Yeah, wherever there's people, but Flavio, because Flavio says you can meet at a local store, except for I think back in the day, yes, that would be good because there's people around. But now it doesn't matter when people are around. If somebody's getting mugged or beat up, nobody helps. They just stand around and look. So
well,
I don't, yeah.
at least they pull out their camera and start filming.
Then you have to find them and hope that they give up that
Or
recording.
you just wait until they post that viral video. And then back to what Chris was saying about the boxes. Chris, I wonder, where did you get your boxes from? So I took the shelf that I made down to the post office to see if I could get an idea what it would cost to ship it. But then obviously they told me it needs to be packed in a box and then they weigh it, which is obvious. But oh, Chris meets at the police station too. That's good. Because I mean, there's lots of cameras around there, I'm sure. So
Mhm.
that would be my first thought too, would be to go to our local police station. Um, and then two, one of the suggestions. So, I've been getting into ChatGPT a little bit, and they had suggested even going in and letting the whoever's at the desk know, hey, I'm here to trade this to someone who's buying it. And not that they would keep an eye out, but at least somebody knows. So if you're laying in the parking lot later, they know what you were doing there. Um, yeah, so some of the things, there's another gentleman that I've been watching on YouTube that does this. He has a bunch of different uh, side hustles, I should say. So eBay is one of his, Amazon affiliate is another one that we're starting on. Um, so my next hurdle would be where to get the boxes for, the right size box for what I need to sell.
Okay, really quick, wait, but that's where he says, I see the flat rate pretty set boxes at the post office, and I'm not sure what size they are. I would look for some online. So Chris, I went online because when I was selling books, that's what I used. And they only have priority now. And I don't know if that's because of the increase in, the whole mess that's going on with the postal service. But there was no flat rate boxes anywhere. So just, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And yeah, and again, according to ChatGPT, those boxes at the post office are a little bit more, it's priority, so they charge a little bit more for that. So so the other thing too is when I'm going to price this item to sell it, it's been suggested to figure out the shipping and then include that in the price of the item. That way, because the range of pricing that I got for this shelf was $15 to $30, and they suggested testing a couple of trips, like so from our house to New York, how much would it cost, and then picking a couple of other states and getting estimates that way. That way, you have an idea what it's going to cost, what's the most it could cost to ship, and then you figure out the price of the shelf itself and put them together. And then when you advertise it as free shipping, which seems more appealing to the buyer, I would imagine. That's pretty good, Flavio. $5,000 for a clean out. Yeah, we used to do a lot of those, and I mean, Cynthia can tell you all the stuff I used to bring home, and we made quite a bit of money because back around 2011, 2012, we were doing trash outs for the banks, and it's when the banks took the properties back from a homeowner. Sometimes the homeowner just left, and all of their stuff was still in the house as if they were going to come back. So we ended up with all kinds of interesting things.
Chris says you can get a box maker. Chris, please don't encourage Frank to buy anything else, please. He says this way you can make your box size and sell others online. Chris, again, please do not encourage Frank to go down another rabbit hole.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that actually, but
You
that's a great
can't.
idea.
No, you can't do it.
I
It's
wonder how
not
much those
something
are. So some of the things that I imagine I'll be getting in the future, again, this guy I follow, I'll have to try to link his channel in here later, but um, so he has the roll of plastic that he puts his items in to keep them clean, and then he has like craft paper on a roll that he uses to protect them during shipping. Um, I'm sure he has a scale to weigh his own stuff. Um, so I might be buying a scale. Um, I like that idea of the plastic keeping your things clean. I think people would appreciate that. But then, that's another cost. I imagine it's you're
Good
making him
job,
take back
Chris. Good.
your. It's going to be a little while before you recoup that money that you're putting out in the beginning. But and then there's the other aspect to it, right? Because it takes you so long to make the thing,
Right.
and then the time to market it and ship it. I imagine shipping it wouldn't be that much time, but so you could be into making a shelf and selling it for what, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And if you're only making, say, $30 on the shelf, is that really worth it per hour? But the other part of it is, doing something you enjoy. I do
Right.
enjoy doing it. Um, could you have spent your time better? Maybe, but I probably would be doing it during times where I'm not really doing anything else. Or, because some people might say, well, why are you going to make a shelf for $25 when you can go out and work on a bathroom remodel, and make 10 times as much? But if you don't have a bathroom to remodel, I don't see what it hurts. And right now, getting started now, because we don't need the money, it can just be piling up somewhere. And if you have just say you make 100 or 2 a month from the shelves, and you make 100 or 2 from affiliate marketing, and then whatever else you're doing. I think that would be a nice way to create some extra savings for us later.
Okay, so everyone thinks you make something, you just throw it up on whatever and it sells. Okay, fine and dandy. If it's something that you have to ship out, now you're talking about, and this is from me doing books. So you have to be able to store them someplace where it's clean. You have to have it organized so that you can find it quickly instead of rifling through stuff. And you have to have space big enough for this to put it all together to ship it. And it takes time. It does take time. And even if you say, while the post office is never busy on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, you still have the time that you're going from your home to there, waiting there, and then coming back. So it there's there's more to it than just I'm going to make it and ship it. There's a lot of other things. And if people aren't organized and willing to stay organized, that makes it rough. So I don't know if you all know that Frank um re well, he made me our garage, he tore it apart, made it so that I have some place to go in and do my stuff because I don't have anywhere. Like, I like crafts and I do different things and try different things. So he made this for me. It's like a tiny house. It has a bathroom, has a place where I can have coffee. It's nice. It's really cute. You should check some of his videos out. Really cute. And so that's usually where people stay when they come to visit, our son and his wife. And, when people come visit, that's where they stay. So as he's talking about putting or making these things and needing to put them somewhere so that they can stay clean and what have you, I have visions of this room having shelves with things that are waiting to be shipped. And slowly am I getting my space taken over. And I keep thinking, so wait a minute. Yes, I love him. Yes, this is for us. But at some point, something has to be just mine. Sounds selfish, but sometimes we just need our own space. And he has two vans. He has a container with tools in it. He has a outside tent thing with stuff in it, and he has a shed. So I'm thinking, okay, either he builds me a shed where I can go in and work and I can lock it up and take the key so he can't get in. I don't know. So I'm thinking before he starts making these things, he better start thinking about where he's going to keep them and how that's going to work with his wonderful patient wife.
I don't think you have to worry because I can't build that many shelves so quickly.
So where
So,
are they going to go? Even the one that you have, where are you going to keep it?
well, right now it's on your work table in the living room.
Ex- exactly. That's
S-
my point.
So, Flavio,
Yes.
Rhodey, have you done Rhodey, Flavio? I think Larissa, my daughter, the one that lives in
Yeah.
Colorado, was doing something like that. Um, but so there are certain things like that where your vehicle has to be a certain age, and all of ours are too old to do that. I think it's the one that delivers medical stuff. Your car has to be like, I forget how new. All of ours are what, 2001 and older. The vans are 2000s, and the Suburban is a 99.
And
Uh,
she's not carrying crazy stuff.
yeah,
Monica is done carrying crazy stuff.
yeah. So,
Oh,
oh, Yinka did it.
yeah. And how was that? How was the return on your time in your car? 2006 Impala. Okay. What kinds of things did you deliver? if you don't mind me asking.
That's pretty interesting because,
Yeah.
I mean, we do have downtime. I wonder if you can just check in when you're going to have time and do it during that time. Our cars are all reliable. Well, I guess everybody's is until it's not, but
Hmm.
let's
Oh,
see.
Francisco.
So we'll do another question while we're waiting. It
Okay.
says, what's one thing you did this week that moved you forward, even if it felt small? So any accomplishments for you guys this week? Um, what do you think about that question? Did you have anything that,
Work wise, I got ahead on things, staying ahead on things because when February comes around and we're gone, my report cards are due, so I have to have everything done, ready to go before I can leave because I'm not doing it while I'm gone. And so that's a little bit more pressure that makes me have to stay on top of things. And I've been trying a lot not to bring things home, but I'm gonna have to start just to stay on top of things because, like I said, when we're in Las Vegas, I have um things that I'm required to do. And so, yeah, things like that. So I'm trying to get ahead, doing things ahead of time, but there's only so much you can do. Other than that, I think, this was a good week. It was a short week for me because I only worked Wednesday and Thursday. Usually it's 3 days. So yeah, it was a good week. My kids were good. They were excited to talk about, we've been talking, well, we always talk a lot about politics, and because I also teach history, we were talking politics and just to get them to where they at least know that there's a world outside of where they live. So hearing their ideas and hearing their criticisms, and they're not allowed to just criticize what somebody's doing. They have to come back with a solution. So to see how much they've grown and how they're starting to look at things from more than one perspective it's really satisfying. It's really nice to see that. So it was a good week. Next week, who knows? They're a little flaky, so next week I might not have anything.
you might have to start all over again?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Um, that's interesting. So Flavio says Home Depot. I'll have to check out the app. Tractor Supply Inc. Yeah, we have a Tractor Supply here. We're kind of in a rural area south of Santa Cruz. Um, and airport bags. Do you mean like people's lost luggage? Um, our next question here. Let me see, where did it go?
I didn't see any other, you have a
Oh,
question.
I have a question. So it says, finish this sentence. I'll feel
Uh,
better next week if I just make it through the week.
I'll feel better next week or next weekend.
I'll feel better. It says, I'll feel better next week if I just,
I'll feel better next week if I just stay focused and not go down bunny hills.
yeah, scrolling is real, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not
yeah,
bad because I mean, you sent me that meme the other day about, you know, before bed, scrolling
yeah.
before bed and sharing them with each other. I mean, not that it's okay. You don't want to waste time, but I'm always trying to learn something. So I am scrolling to find stuff to learn or to get me further down the road on things that I've already started.
Um, Flavio says, if I'm good on paperwork, you can do mobile notary. Yeah, no, thank you. Frank was doing mobile notary, but stopped. He took the class, he and his mom, they took the class and did the test and did the whole thing and then didn't do anything with it. But that's something that he could still Yeah, that's something that he should probably get back into, and good point, good point.
Yeah, I guess I would have to be recertified. That was several years ago. But
Yeah.
honestly, what held me back was I didn't understand it well enough. We sat through that 5 hour class or whatever it is, and then I don't remember the terms of the documents that I didn't understand, but like jurat and um, so I guess I didn't understand the process for each different thing you were notarizing.
Mm,
But I think the mobile notary, especially like the people we've dealt with, the mobile notaries, when we're buying a place, they have a basic understanding of what you're signing,
right.
but I don't think they've all been like really knowledgeable about each thing. They just know where we're supposed to sign. So maybe that's simple enough for me.
Mm. Alinka says a block system, they list stuff and you accept which ones. Yes, luggage.
Okay,
That's interesting.
that's pretty cool.
It's a
Let's see.
good, it's a good time to learn. Always, it's always a good time to learn. I was telling Frank the other day, I've always been one of those that's taking a class or doing something. I've always been learning something. And this year, this is probably the first time that I've not been taking a class, or whether it's online or whatever. And all of a sudden he's doing all of this stuff. He's learning all this stuff. And I said, whoa, we've kind of flipped scripts there. He's the one that's learning all this stuff. And I'm just looking at him like, okay, keep going. You got this. But yeah, it's always a good time to learn.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like I said earlier, I have all these things floating in the air and nothing completed yet, and that's frustrating. I think
Yep.
if I could just finish something and have proof of concept either way, right? This did work or this doesn't work, or like again, going back to the shelf thing, okay, I did sell one, so I know it can work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can do more of that if I want to. And I can also then move on to the next thing because I know this works and I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's super valuable. I think, getting back to the hand holding thing, I wonder how many people are there out there like me that are in this same spot. They get to a certain point and then hit a roadblock, and don't move past it. But I want to move past it, and I want to prove it. So
So I think that means you're going to have to focus on one thing. I believe we've had this conversation, your son and us, that you have to focus on one thing and see it through instead of getting sidetracked. And that takes some discipline, because as you're doing things, other things are coming up in your head. So write them down. What about this? What about this? And then when you have a chance, then at some point you can go back and look at those. But sometimes those all get answered the farther you go with your goal, the farther you get there. As you're going, you're getting questions and they get answered later on. So I think focusing on one thing at a time and not getting sidetracked with that shiny penny, nickel, dollar, whatever, would really help.
yeah, I think you're right. We all need to concentrate on one thing and get good at it. But
I don't know what that one thing is that I want to do. That's my challenge.
mhm. But also, so say you're going down this path of the Etsy thing, and while you're while you're scanning videos or whatever, this other thing pops up, and you think you don't want to miss an opportunity. So you dig a little bit into that, just like I'm doing with uh, that thing we watched yesterday about digital products.
Mhm.
And
But
that's
that's
in,
it though. You can write that down and say, I want to look into this later, but right now I need to work on this. It does take discipline. That's why entrepreneurs, it takes a lot of discipline staying in their lane until they have their goal met, or their goal has to be met, because if it isn't met by the time you get back around to it, you've already missed out on whatever it was you were doing in the first place. And yeah, we don't want to miss opportunities, but opportunities are always going to be there if we take the time to look for them. So whatever you think you're going to miss now, you're not, that's for now, you might have missed it, but there's going to be something else. That's like just like with real estate. Maybe you don't go for this house, but there's going to be other houses. I don't ever see, and if you look back on history, there's never been a time where there haven't been homes to buy and sell. There have never been. So, I think getting out of the mind frame of I'm going to lose out, I'm going to lose out might be the first step to being able to stay focused on what it is exactly that you want to do.
yeah, good point. That's what I'm concentrating on.
So, which one are you concentrating on?
I'm concentrating on getting the Etsy thing done.
Good, good.
So right now, like I said, the next step is the box thing and
Mhm,
packaging and then estimating shipping costs at different parts of the country and then
mhm.
figuring out how to price it.
Yeah, perfect. You get those down, then you can move on to your next one, because that one should be an easy, okay, if it comes up, somebody wants one, okay, I already know what to do. I'm good with it. I can move on to something new. That's why I think making a list of all the things, and I have a long list of all the things that you want to do. Um, one would be selling online, which is great. The other, whatever it is. I think that's having that list so you can go back and say, yeah, I'm still interested in this. Oh, not really. Let's put that back on the back burner. That that also helps you feel like you're moving forward in other things. Not like, okay, I finished this. Now what? Well, okay, I have a whole list of now what's. And then you pick the one that catches your eye and you move forward with that one.
Okay, well, I guess when we come back next week, I'll have to have made some progress so we can report back.
And you're starting a job. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah, the job is in the back seat.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I guess we should end it here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And if you guys have any questions, I think you all know how to reach me. Um, and I'll definitely work on making some progress. We'll look forward to our next Wednesday call. Um, I think even in Vegas, we are going to get there on a Wednesday, and we'll be holding the meeting from Las Vegas. So, um, for people that can't go, we'll be giving updates. We'll probably be doing some live sessions while we're there. And I know Zuber is going to record the event, but there's a lot of stuff happening around the event that people won't get to see. Um,
Do you have an update on the shirts? What sizes are available, and how many are you bringing? Anything
well,
like
we're going
that
to
that we need to
bring,
cover?
yeah, if we sell any between now and then, it might drop by a couple, but we'll be bringing the leftover shirts. Hopefully, we can sell them while they're there. And
Sizes?
we have a few of each, a few small, medium, large, extra large. We have a couple of 2X's and we have a 3X. Um, so yeah, if you guys know anybody who wants to get one, send them our way. We
And
appreciate
please,
everybody who does have one already.
and please don't forget to hit the like button if you would please. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed in the past. And anything you want to answer?
No, just thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to come and sit with us for a bit. We appreciate that. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you
Bye,
next week.
everyone. Have a good